Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside Out Smile. I'm your host, Dr. Amber Q, and I'm thrilled that you've joined me today. Now, whatever facet of life we're in, AI is here to stay. And I don't know actually how many people I've met that are anti-AI, and I see their viewpoint, and to a certain extent I feel it. But it's something interesting happened to me, and I'd like to share that with everyone and kind of explore this concept. So I was in conversation with an editor of a particular journal, and I'm going to be submitting an article. And it was really interesting because she said, can I please confirm that it will be ChatGPT free, because I've had so many articles coming in that have just been, written by AI. And I said, yeah, of course, that's fine. And you know what? It just felt like such a delicious idea that I was going to write. I haven't written an article for some time, actually. I've written some from previous magazines, and they've all been sort of in the dental sphere. And so I don't know, it just made me really I just felt so great about this. And I was like, yeah, that would absolutely be fine. And it's funny because recently I've actually wanted to write my emails with a little note at the bottom saying, this article or letter was written to you with HI, human intelligence. And I don't know, that almost feels immodest though, right? But anyway, so that's why I want to discuss this topic today. Obviously, let's not forget that there are still events happening in the in Palestine with the genocide, which is more awful now than it ever was. And I just want to mention that because even in that instance, of course, people are being targeted by drones and things. It's just awful. And so the thing is that, coming back to this article that I'm writing, I wanted to speak about inputs and outputs because they're so important, and it's relevant whether we're talking about AI, building a business, or talking just about our personal lives and, for example, our mindset. And data is the starting point, because at the end of the day, what is data? I think data is just a measurement of where you are and then where you want to be. And if we don't measure the increments, because that's how change happens, we can become very disheartened. And that just applies to every facet, I think, of personal and professional life. But it's interesting because, of course, I've started writing the article, and I'm just really enjoying it. I feel like I'm really using my brain. I'm really enjoying just the process of looking at research articles. And, it's just really made me think about A, the topic, B, the habit that I used to have more so when I was studying and writing various dissertations or articles in the past and various talks, just looking at sort of research articles and just that habit that becomes your reality when you're writing an article or a dissertation. And so I think that's so interesting, right? Because of course, obviously, when you have two people writing an article, you're going to have different outcomes because the person's going to have different perception, different mindset, different life experiences as well. And that's kind of the beauty of life, right? Whereas obviously if everyone is just writing things using AI, you're going to get I guess just a generic response in a way, and depending on which model you've used. And it's really interesting because I read a report, and I think I mentioned it in the last episode, about how teachers were saying that everything looks fine if somebody hands in homework, but it just feels soulless. And I think that's so interesting. And the thing is that, depending on how we live our life, if we have either negative inputs or limited inputs, through maybe not having either great life experiences or not having actually been out and about and experienced very much in any facet, then that is going to affect our output maybe our opinion, how we're going to interact with other people, etc. And we're going to feel quite stagnated. Whereas obviously, if we put more effort into something, we focus, we believe that we can do it, and we're going to have clarity, it's just going to be a totally different ball game, and we're going to come out with a much better output, whatever that output is, again, how we're relating to people, and just depending on what we've put that effort into, right? So similarly for health as well, there's so much junk now that essentially, I think years ago it was easier, and I'm speaking years ago, it was easier when there was less convenient food. You either did have sort of healthy food, and then there might have been, crisps or potato chips, as the Americans say, and, cookies, biscuits, etc. Those things did exist, but they were just more limited, I think. And it was almost like you were making a conscious effort to do something negative. But quite often, certainly when I was young, those things were a treat, right? So you'd have them on Eid, you'd have them in special holidays or celebrations or at a party. So they were limited. Whereas now I think it's such a battle, and you really have to put in much more effort to make that healthy choice, because not only are unhealthy things just so mass produced and just omnipresent everywhere, but we're also marketed constantly, and so that as well is going to affect the choices that we make, because there's so much choice, there's convenience, there's convenience, and obviously limited time if you're working or at an office, and you haven't bought your own lunch, etc. So you're going to pick other, unhealthy options most likely. And so this is why I think it's really important to put effort and focus into things, into the choices that we're making. So, okay, fine, I've spoken about food, but what about relationships? It just seems that friendships now, because life is so busy, friendships are becoming a chore. And, this whole thing about AI romantic partners and friends, I find that's quite distasteful. I don't know, maybe it has its time and place for possibly, I was going to say an elderly person who can't leave the house, etc. But then what does that mean about society? Where are we going? Where, hey, we'll just, dump a AI friend on you, or an AI companion. I know it can have its place in a sense, and certainly if somebody has restrictions, like physical restrictions, then maybe an AI robot could actually hop around the house in terms of chores and things. But in terms of companionship and things, I don't know, that just feels wrong. It feels as if we're abandoning society, because I think what makes society beautiful is community and connection. And obviously that's what I'm constantly speaking about on the podcast. So I think really what I'm just saying is that writing this article, it's really reminded me that it's just so delicious using our brain, feeling the I don't even know how to describe it. I was going to say the pull of the effort, but it's just so wonderful feeling that, okay, I'm writing an article, I've read research, I'm now going to articulate that, just that effort and focus of using my brain and feeling myself stretch and reminding myself of certain, aspects, for example, newer research or older, more familiar research. It's just so wonderful. And if we apply that effort and focus into everything, our healthy habits for lifestyle, our friendships, our connection with others, and also AI, right? AI is dependent upon the inputs that we put in. And, there's that whole thing, isn't there, of garbage in, garbage out. So honestly, I think life entirely is dependent upon the effort and the discipline that we put in. I don't know what your thoughts are on this area, because essentially as I'd already mentioned previously, and I haven't looked at more research articles about this at the moment, but AI does make us lazy. And anything that makes us lazy and that is too easy is going to put us, into, I think, a negative state, because obviously our bodies were built, for example, for movement, for survival. And when we are, all the biohackers say that when we're uncomfortable, that's when our body is actually going to grow and thrive. Whereas because we are comfortable, for example, we have our places of work and residence just set at the right temperature, for example, the convenience foods that we're eating that are rubbish, and then if we just have a poor, lazy mindset, and we're not actually using our brain, we know that, for example, dementia can be combated by the amount that you use your brain, if you learn more languages, etc., keeping the brain sharp. So I just feel that everything is dependent upon effort and focus and mindset, and of course, data, in the sense that we need to measure what we're doing. For example, if you want to lose weight, measure your weight before and after, or if you're working out to gain muscle, how much is your muscle, how much muscle mass have you grown? If it's your mindset, are you journaling to see how far you've come, or are you noting down various things that you're grateful for? So I think there's just so much that we can do. And also, obviously, who we surround ourselves with and what their sort of mindset is. And, I don't know. So I just feel that this is so important. And I feel that it's quite interesting because as time is moving forward, it's becoming, all the skills that I've been speaking about, they're becoming even more important, not just in real life and academia or working life, but even in the realms of AI and how we use AI. And there's nothing wrong with using AI. Let me be clear about this. I think AI is great. It's a great tool, but we need to use it properly. And for example, who wants to read a magazine that's just full of AI generated stuff? There's no heart and soul in it. Because, for example, when I write my article, I'm going to write about things that I've seen, in clinics, for example, and how I used various skills to actually improve that situation or outcome for the clinic or for the patient. And so I don't know. I think the thing is that, I guess, it's that conversation that we've had, I think, previously about social media, which is a good tool, but again, don't become consumed by it. So I'm enjoying writing my article, and I'm enjoying the effort that it's taking. Obviously, it's taking longer compared to spinning out something on AI, but then I wouldn't be affected by that. I'm being really affected by this because, as I said, it's been some time since I've written an article. So I'm really relishing the experience. I've kind of done the outline and, a little bit more than the outline, and I'm just really enjoying it. I'm just thinking about various scenarios that I could write about and just picking the right one. So I'm really enjoying it. And I wonder, what is your life like? What are the inputs in your life? Because they are going to be leading to the outputs of your life. And it may be that you've got a great career, you're doing really well, but just at home, there are various stressors. And if you look at those inputs that you have at home, hopefully they will also lead to better outputs in your personal life. So just wanted to leave you with that thought. And of course, again, this brings us back to the fact that why are people suffering in the world? What are the inputs that are going into society? And if we don't speak about injustice, again, that's an input into society. That is going to have a consequential output that's going to affect all of us. So please, until the next episode, let's all create connection and not just change lives, but save lives.